Hey everybody, how's it going? Max and Trev with BuzzTox here with our breakdown of season 7 episode 6. There's honestly not much for me to say about this episode. I hate being a downer, but I love Game of Thrones to my core, and I feel like they betrayed me.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Like, for me, I didn't go in the off season looking for everything about it, so I'm at a totally different perspective level than you. So for me, I'm only lukewarm on this episode. I thought it was still a pretty good episode. There's definitely some holes, but I feel like that's the overall. That's sort of what you get overall with a shortened season. They have to rush things. What we were talking about with, I know we're gonna go in chronological order, but like the whole Arya thing, she did seem intense looking back. But it's almost like they skipped over one more argument that they should have had between each other.
Because they didn't have one.
That's what I mean. So there's always they're chomping at the bit to get this season done, and that's what's sort of annoying about the entire season. There's a lot of scenes that could have been they could have taken their time with.
Fucking feeling lukewarm, just like the water in the lake that the guys ran across.
Yeah, man. Seismic activity can cause that, or it could have been what do you call it? Not an estuary. It could have been like a tributary from a river, and it was flowing water underneath. Who knows, man?
It's ridiculous.
The episode name we'll never remember.
No, because it wasn't a memorable episode. As we were saying, it's like every episode 9 was better than this.
This is like an episode 4.
This was very disappointing. I'm very disappointed. God damn it! But then we get a lot of character building moments, which I actually thought were pretty good. But some of them were conflicting, which kind of rubbed me the wrong way. We see Jon, Tormund, and Gendry. And they pretty much, Gendry says that he's never seen snow before. Tormund says how he likes being in the north. Because it's like fresh air and shit. And he said in the south it smells awful. And I thought it was funny because Jon said that is actually still in the north. And Tormund just rubs him off. Tormund's pretty funny. But you know what? Tormund does say some wisdom, is that he doesn't think smart people would go beyond the wall looking for dead. And I think that's the smartest thing anyone said in this episode. But then Tormund ends up mentioning the Dragon Queen. But this part of the scene irritated me, and I want to know your point of view on it. Tormund tells Jon, because of this, he spent too much time with the Free Folk. He says that Mance Rayder was a proud man. And then Tormund asks the question, how many men died for his pride? How many men die for their pride? And he's referring to Mance Rayder. Do you think that made sense at all?
I think it could be said of every leader in the show.
I think it diminished the whole Mance Rayder story. He made it very clear that it wasn't pride for the reason that he got killed, and I think Tormund understood that. And for him to say that to me is crazy. Especially earlier in the season, we got an arc with Jon Snow not bending the knee, and specifically telling Daenerys that he isn't bending the knee because of pride. He also kind of said, fuck pride. It doesn't matter. If you don't understand, then you never will. And they did that arc, and now they totally flipped it on its head and screwed the pooch with it, saying that Mance was a proud man and he died for his pride. I think that threw everything out of the window, and I think it was stupid. It was a stupid thing for him to say and for them to write into the show.
Well, I don't know. He did kind of die for his pride. He wanted to be the free king, you know what I mean? And he died for that cause. So
but I think it's all about
die for his pride.
Yeah, but he was made their follower because he fought for the wildlings, and he led for a democracy that wasn't about bending the knee to someone. And that's why he died. He didn't die for his pride. He died because of his people and his leadership and like what he was trying to push. Not a leadership where you bend the knee or you owe him respect. And him bending the knee would go against everything that he and his people would believe in. And for them to chalk that up as pride, especially Tormund, blows my mind.
Well, maybe they used a different word here, because I think he could have said ideology. But obviously he's not going to say that in this show. But it seems more like he died for his ideology. He wanted to die as a free man. And as a symbol of the free people.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what I mean. Like, he is prideful of that position. So the way that they framed it, it seems a little bit jarring from what he said before, but I kind of glazed over that, not going too deep into it, because I think it was just a misnomer. They phrased it differently than they should have.
I guess, but it's like you can only make so many excuses. Like, I just think that was so dumb.
Well, get ready for it. This is the excuse episode from Trevor.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're throwing in the excuses, because I'm coming down hard. And like, I used to be the kind of guy who, if I really subscribe to something, I ignore the negatives. And like, I just can't do that with this episode and the last one, because I feel like they messed up so bad. Like, fuck. And then the next scene, we go to Gentry and Beric and Thoros are catching up, and I thought it was fine. For this scene, I think it was good for the Hound, because it showed a new side of his character. Like, he's starting to understand Beric Dondarrion as a person. And he's just, I don't know, I think he's just kind of improving as a character, and I appreciated that aspect of the scene.
Yeah, and this was pre him seeing the reality of his vision unfold, right? So he is himself, his rude, abrasive self, but he seems like he's got sort of like a moral compass now.
Yeah, and he's never been a complainer either, so I think it's... Because of all people, the Hound should have something to complain about, but he never does. So It makes sense that he was pissed off about that. But another thing with these scenes is what I'm starting to notice about this season, and I want you to let me know if you feel the same way, is I feel like a lot of the character moments we're getting are based on past reveals or conversations of past seasons.
Like rehashing of past conversations.
I almost get bored watching some of these scenes because they literally are rehashing what we already know. And like they bring nothing new to the table. Like in the past we get a lot of great conversations between Tyrion and Varys, and we learn more about their characters and who they are. But I feel like this season they're so reflective that we never learn anything new about these characters. It's just they're talking about something we already know.
Mm-hmm. There is a little of that, definitely.
I feel like there's a lot more than usual. Like in the next scene, Jon and Jorah are talking about Jorah, and this scene makes sense. Like I get that they're talking about the past, but I just feel like we're getting a lot of it. But Jon does tell him he was beyond the wall, caught by wildlings when Jorah died, and they pretty much just talk about their fathers. How Jorah didn't like Ned, but he respected him because Ned wanted to execute him, and it was well founded. Because Jorah says he was lost. And Jon offers Jorah Longclaw back, which I feel like it's a scene that we both were expecting to happen.
Yeah.
But Jorah does refuse, and he says that he forfeit the right to have the sword. And what I found really interesting about it is that he tells Jon that it's his sword and his children after him. And Jon does seem really thankful. So overall, this scene I found really interesting just because of Jorah saying that your children after him, because I always thought of it as Jon's sword, but I never thought of it as a family sword. It's like Jon is the first person to hold the House Snow or House Targaryen or like Jon's new house that he's gonna start going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really cool because you have Rhaegar's secret marriage in Dorne, and you have Jorah kind of saying like, oh, hand this down to your children after you. I think it's almost leading to a new house, or like, I don't know, I never thought of it that way, and I thought it was cool.
Or it could be the end of that whole shit, and it would be a symbol of like what he goes on to create.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on, we get another scene with Tormund and the Hound. They pretty much talk about being kissed by fire because he's a ginger, and the Hound also being kissed by fire because of his face.
The Hound's so great in this episode.
His face is fucked. He was really good. And they end up talking about Brienne, and I think Tormund gets insight of the Hound because he says that you don't seem angry, you have sad eyes. So I think that was pretty funny. Tormund didn't even know the word dick.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. He's like fish out of water. He reminded me a lot like Thor in this movie.
Yeah.
Like that's what it seems like. He's just like he's so excited to be amongst these like warriors that fight, as he's been told that all these guys are warriors, and he's just looking for a fight, and he's almost like a giddy schoolboy to be amongst this like gang of dudes, and he's just kind of shooting the shit enthusiastically to everybody.
Yeah. And I find it kind of funny how you call this a movie, because it's like, it was. Like, they have certain tropes and certain lack of depth that we expect from Game of Thrones that just isn't there. Or I don't think it's there. But another hint we get between Beric and Jon is Beric says that he does not look like his father. He may take from his mother. Obviously, that's hinting at his heritage. They talk the Lord of Light for a bit, and Jon says that he's never spoke to him, but all he knows is that he needs to fight for the North. I like this scene because they don't know why they're alive, and Beric says that he is alive to fight for life. And I liked how he was talking about how you fight for life, but death is inescapable. So, death is always the enemy. It's the first enemy and the last enemy. It's an enemy that always wins, but we still need to fight him anyway. And then they come to the conclusion that they won't have joy out here, but they can protect life and they can help others. And then Jon says his Night's Watch vow, I'm the shield that guards the realms of men. And I think that was a good establishment for both of them, that they're there to just help others. It doesn't matter their purpose. They're just going to be them and see what happens.
For sure. I thought Dondarrion was dying for sure this episode. For his cause.
Yeah,
so he still has some purpose.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what his purpose is.
He better show Jon that fucking flame on trick on his sword. How cool is that?
That would be dope. If he died in this episode, I wouldn't have meaned enough. But watch, he's probably gonna die next season for no true reason. I don't know, but it would be really interesting to see what their reasons are. And the Hound also, they keep saying that he's destined. He has this particular reason.
Yeah.
Part to play. So I think it's all very interesting, and I can't even wager a guess now after watching this episode. Because I feel like making predictions are pointless.
Okay. We still see like the Hound doing some shit in the trailer, like amongst the sunlight. Do you think he's going home to fight his brother in the next episode?
No, but with Dan and David wouldn't surprise me. No, I think it's just a civil discussion. They're going to drop off the wight, and they're going to try and kill it, and they can't. And then, there's going to be no Clegane Bowl ever. I think the Hound's just going to be kind of upset to see his brother kind of enslaved to Cersei.
But you don't think it's going to be like put him out of his misery type of situation where the Clegane would want to kill him, obviously?
I just don't know if it would be the right place to, obviously, because they're going there to meet.
Yeah, you don't think shit is going to hit the fan, though?
No, because I feel like they established in the next scene that it wouldn't, which also irritated me a little bit, because the scene between Tyrion and Daenerys, they do talk about the Dragon Pit and how they're going to handle the situation in King's Landing. And
fill me in on what the Dragon Pit is.
It is when the Targaryens ruled. It's a giant pit where they kept all their dragons.
Yeah. Like, for them to meet at the Dragon Pit is an obvious trap to try and get the dragons. I have a feeling another dragon is being trapped in the next episode. Okay? Yeah. I don't think it's going to be Drogon, but who knows? It might be.
I don't know how they would pull that off, but we'll see. But again, in the last episode, Qyburn, yeah, shoot a couple of those arrows at them,
or like just chain this thing down. I don't know. It's like a stable for dragons, as you describe, or where they kept them.
And she made it pretty. Yeah, I don't know. And she made it pretty clear, like a truce would be in their best interest, because they could stock up. And she said that they need to fight like father, and father fights like the Red Wedding. So she'll do anything to win. I just don't. We'll see if anything happens at the Dragon Pit. And the whole idea in general I thought was stupid in the last episode, because Tyrion all of a sudden thinks that Cersei can be trusted if he talks to Jaime. I thought that was kind of stupid, and you see them trying to explain it better in this scene, and to me it still wasn't enough.
No, because Jaime can't be trusted now because of what happened in the last episode.
Yeah, like just
even he's making dumb decisions because he charged a fucking queen with a dragon wrapped around her.
Yeah.
And Bronn, the not war hero, had to fucking slap him into consciousness again to say, like, what are you doing? Like, Jaime's being very, what do you call it? Not erratic, but irrational. He's being very irrational. and even more so now that he's got a bun in the oven.
Yeah, and I would say, like, Tyrion's going all over the place, too. Like, last episode, getting the idea for capturing a wight, even though I feel like that's against his best interests. And then in this episode, which caught me so by surprise, this whole season he's been telling Daenerys not to go to King's Landing. Don't do any of that shit. But he says that if Cersei plays any tricks, they're going to take all 3 of their dragons and they're going to burn the whole thing to the ground. Because nothing says that better. Like it makes no sense to me. Like, Tyrion wants to protect civilian life. So if they get betrayed, he's going to kill the whole civilian population of King's Landing.
To me, I think he would have said that to persuade her.
So dumb. And then he said, yeah, they're going to bring 2 armies and 3 dragons, just to make sure Cersei doesn't play any tricks. And yeah, he's going to burn down King's Landing to the foundation stones if anything goes wrong, which kind of irritated me. They hint even more at Daenerys' interest for Jon, because she likes Tyrion because he's not a hero. How Khal Drogo, Jorah, Daario, and Jon Snow all feel like they try and outdo each other in being heroic, and it'll get them killed.
Yeah.
And Tyrion says that Jon loves her because he keeps staring at her all the time. And that they end up kind of paying that off this episode.
Yeah, big time.
But they do have an interesting conversation here. When Tyrion pretty much states that they will not set traps for Cersei, and she promised Jaime that Daenerys will not be impulsive. And Daenerys naturally is kind of she questions that.
She's very snipey.
Yeah, and he has a different point of view. He said, maybe you should have killed Randall, but saved Dickon, put him in the cell, whatever. But they still disagree. Daenerys says that, she called it. She gave them a choice, and that's that. Mm-hmm. Do you still stand by Daenerys or Tyrion in this argument?
They're both right. She should have done that, but she had to do what she had to do. Because she would look weak if she didn't.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And then they get into a conversation that we've never really heard of before. Like, she kept saying she wanted to break the wheel, and people keep talking about how that's a different form of government in a way, or a different system. And Tyrion's just wondering, how will the wheel stay broken when she dies? And he actually points out that she can't birth children, which I'm surprised that he did that. That's crazy. And he says that the Night's Watch and the Ironborn have different ways to elect a leader, and that's pretty much as the most democratic as you can get.
Yeah. Seems like they want to form a republic.
Yeah, republic, sorry. And Tyrion tells her that he worries about her dying in battle, and she refuses to talk about the succession until she wears the crown. And I feel like that's never going to happen.
Yeah, she's being superstitious, but yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either.
Yeah, I just found it interesting how they have been talking about changing the way leaders are elected. I didn't know Game of Thrones would touch on that, but that would be interesting, kind of finishing off the show with a whole different way to pick the king of the Seven Kingdoms.
Well, because I think it's gonna have to end like that, because they are going to destroy the world with their political gripes with each other. Meanwhile, the true enemy is coming for them, and they'll need whatever's left will need to band together democratically to solve that issue.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where whatever happens will come out of the end result of the war.
Oh, sorry.
It won't. I don't think it will be kings and queens. It will be whatever's left.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how they play that off. I don't know how I feel about them ending the show with a modern system in place. Because I don't feel like it fits the time period. But
no, I think it would be like, that's why I said republic, like Roman style republic. Yeah. Because that like democracy's been around for 2,000 years in our world. So it's almost like I would assume that, not knowing exactly what system they're on, I would have said that they're feudal, right? It's like a feudal system. There's lords, landowners, kings and queens. It seems like a feudal system to me, from what I gather.
Yeah.
And the feudal system came after democracy, after the fall of the Roman Empire. So it's like they need to come into the modern age. But who knows if they're going to do that? It just seems like they keep hinting at these little political gripes, and the whole show is how bad people are to each other in this political system that they have. Like, that's basically what the show is about. Backstabbing and deals gone bad and liars and cheaters, and like that's the whole thing. So it really seems like to me that it will come to an end because of necessity of working together.
And Tyrion hints at it too, like what you want to change doesn't happen in your lifetime. Like, it happens over a long period of history. And it makes sense if you change the whole system of who's right to the throne, and you put in a voting system. It does take a lot of time to implement. And I feel like in a way they are kind of going to that. You know, they put a lot of queens in power, which is so different for Westeros. And even Arya speaking to Sansa in this episode, saying that Ned Stark was clapping for her as she was shooting arrows, and she realized that she wasn't wrong for shooting arrows. The rules were wrong. And I feel like those are foreshadows that the rules are going to change.
Exactly.
But anyways, we get a quick scene with the group marching in the snow, and they end up seeing a bear.
Yeah.
So and then they end up fighting this giant white bear. Thoros and Beric.
Bear.
It was huge, and it looked great on screen. And Thoros and Beric get their swords, and the Hound ends up freezing and watching Thoros get like chomped to the bit.
Because of the flames.
Yeah, but Jorah ends up kind of stabbing him, and they get they get Thoros free. And then Beric cauterizes Thoros' wound. Did I say that properly?
Yeah. We'll give you a pass.
Thank you. And then they end up following the polar bear tracks forward. I thought the scene was really good. I wanted to see the polar bears with the wights and the Night King. Like, it was just weird to me that it was just randomly on its own, because I feel like it's established that the Night King travels with his posse in one direction. Like, he doesn't spread out.
Well, that's what I was talking about the last time. It was like, I wonder if he doesn't just convert things for his army. Like, he is part children of the forest in a sense. So maybe he has like a nature lover side to him, and he would convert animals too. Like, the only other beasts we've seen are beasts of burden. Like, I think, have you seen a mammoth in that horde at the beginning of the season?
I don't believe so.
No, sure. So the only other animal that we've seen for sure is their horses, and those are transportation.
Yeah.
So
I feel like they can resurrect anything.
Yeah. Well, we see another beast at the end, but
yeah,
we know he's going to be using that, because that's his ticket over the wall, which is another kind of gripe, because I'm wondering. Well, we'll get to it.
Okay. But then after that storm, and like, see that, actually, before we get to the next scene, the whole thing with the storm, I wonder how long they've been walking, because they're walking, it's clear skies, we go to another scene, and then we cut back to them, and they're in a storm. And then the next scene, it's clear again. And when I was watching the previews, I was like, we saw in the first episode that the Night King brings the storm. Mm-hmm. And
but isn't to say that there is natural storms that happen too.
No, for sure. But it's just that he wasn't there. And I just felt like they really, I don't know how they did it, but like, I just figured when the White Walkers are around, it's a horde. Like, that's it. You have no time. And I feel like they spaced it out like crazy. Like, they walked, they found a polar bear, they kept moving, they fought a white and like 10 other, they fought a White Walker and 10 other whites, and then they were fine, and then they had to run, and then they had to wait a couple days. Like, it was just so drawn out, when I feel like if you're dealing with a horde of that size, it should not take that long. Like, the whites should have been climbing over each other to get over that ice, that little hole in the ice.
Well, we're getting to that, but yeah, I was thinking about the scene again, how they killed the one White Walker, because they set a trap. They set up camp with a fire. So it almost seems like, and again, this is me excusing them because they didn't have time to explain this, But they could have showed like, oh, like the Night's King was walking, and then they see a little plume of smoke, and he could have said to one of his lieutenants like, go check that out, in a way, like with a look like, you go, and then the one branches off, brings a little posse with him, and then goes and investigates the fire, and that's how they isolate him.
Yeah, I get that.
Because they really weren't that far off, because as soon as they get the one, they show up again. So they were traveling in a horde, but they were kind of separated through mountain passes, let's say.
Yeah. I get that. I totally get that. And like, yeah, I guess they did what they could. They set the fire to lure them in. Jon immediately goes for the White Walker, I guess because he has the Valyrian steel sword. And like, it was just...
Does he know that though?
What?
Does he know that the Valyrian steel can kill these things? Or does he just think like, oh, I've killed one before?
No, they discovered it.
When though? I'm trying to think of when they discussed this Valyrian steel can kill wights.
Season 5?
They said like, this steel has the ability?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so I found it funny because like Jon killed this one fast. And it was just like...
Yeah, he dispatched him pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's just, I get it. Like, he's a really talented sword fighter, but like, I just wish it was more struggle, because in Hardhome it was like life and death, and then here comes Jon just taking him out in 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, this guy was like again, excuse, but he seemed like a pussy.
But they're strong though. They're strong. Like,
yeah, but they got the jump
tough
on them too.
I know, but every one of them I feel like should have been, like, every White Walker you face should be somewhat of a challenge.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
And I think you got like the typical movie trope, like, of course, Jon kills the White Walker, and every single White dies except for one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fucking really? Like, the White Walker walks in to follow the fire with all of the Whites that he resurrected except for one. And that one is perfect, because then they can capture it. It just seems so...
because it will probably end up being one of the Night's King's ones. Because I think what it is he would probably always send one of his eyes with them, if he can't already see through the other walkers.
Yeah. If so, like, they have a lot of explaining to do. And, like, I just wish, like, this episode
still,
that's so much better.
It left me with a lot of questions about the White Walkers. Because it's like, I think he creates sentient beings when he converts the kids or the babies or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have their own free will, in a sense. But they're obviously, they swear fealty to him as their king. So they have their own thing about them. They have their own logic to them, and that's why this one was able to act on its own.
Right.
So that's what's interesting about it. But it almost seems like he would have sent one of his guys in there just so he had eyes on the ground as well.
No, that makes sense too. I feel like every Game of Thrones show, like, season, you haven't been able to explain it this much. Like, the fact that we need to break down every scene and try and explain it in our minds, it tells me that they did something wrong.
Well, like, I don't watch too many other people like us, but I don't know if it's publicly discussed that the Night's King is warging into all these beings.
No, they don't say warging. They just say resurrecting.
Yeah, but it seems pretty evident that he has control over these things.
Yeah.
To the point where they have the same color eyes as the creators of them, right? Whether they're the Night's Kings or whether they're a lieutenant of the Night's Kings, it seems like they're warging into these resurrected bodies. So to me, that means that they have their sight as well. And that's why when they had that one cornered, the rest came coming.
Yeah.
Right? They were able to turn a whole army on a dime and come after them.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, they come, like, they come, but they're so far away. Like, that's the thing with your explanation, is that as soon as they defeat them, the White that they've captured is, like, screaming, and Jon looks, and on the hilltop so far away, you see the storm coming. And that signifies them coming. So Jon panically says, Gendry, like, run, go send a raven to Daenerys. And that's it. Like, they were so far away from that group. So it's just crazy to me that they were so spread out.
Yeah. But again, I still think it's like, it can be resolved with, they went to investigate the camp.
Yeah.
Or like maybe he sends his lieutenants out to collect the dead animals, anything you can find, resurrect. So they do branch off on their own.
Yeah.
Right? There's obviously probably scouts, and maybe I'm wrong about the bear, and he's not a nature lover, but he uses the bear as a scout. Right? But then that same logic, they would have known they were coming.
Yeah. The whole Gendry thing too, I can't believe. They had him run all the way back. I just think that's ridiculous. Like, there should have been, like, why a raven? It's so dumb.
Well, that's what makes me think that they weren't too far away from Eastwatch or Eastgate. What's it called?
Yeah, Eastwatch.
Eastwatch. That's why I don't think they were too far. Like, they were probably, let's say, 2 days walk away from the wall, and Gendry ran it double time in one night and day. That's why he almost died when he got there. And that's from history. Like, that's where Marathon is. Like, the Spartans, the 300, they're a small group of people that are in the mountains. The Persians come, outnumber them. They're able to hold them off because they sent that one guy, I forget his name, to run all the way back and tell Sparta, like, the Persians are coming.
Yeah, Bran should have had a presence there.
I agree. But knowing J.R.R.M. and his passion for historic things, I think that will be in the book too, that they'll send a runner.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Bran
But it might be a little bit more dramatic.
I hope so. Like, you get this crazy action sequence, and then you see Gendry just kind of running awkwardly through the snow. I just thought it wasn't shot the best. I just wish they didn't do it. But, like, this is the spot where it kind of fell apart for me. Like, they're running into this lake, and I just didn't like the way they handled it. Like, the group literally runs, and as soon as they touch the ice, it cracks. Like, really? To me, that makes no sense. And then they keep running, and then the ice ends up falling through around the whole horde, and there's like 2 feet distance from the ice that broke to the ice that they're standing on to the ice on the other side, and they just refuse to cross it.
We'll see how I resolve this is the horde is many people, whereas the other handful of dudes scamper across, and they notice that when they chase that one no name guy, that it all falls in. So it becomes a hazard for them. It would become a waste to try and push through this ice as a horde, because you would just sink.
Yeah, the whole lot, like, it melted there and it broke there, but if you wait a couple days, it'll melt twice as strong, 3 times as strong, and then they can cross. I just thought that was ridiculous. Like the show's trying to tell me that the ice was less frozen that whole time being up north forever versus 2 days after when it froze over.
Yeah, what I think they missed the opportunity to do here is make them suffer more. Like, it could have been like a nice bright day while the ice broke, resolving why the ice broke, and then when they're stuck on that rock, it is 3 days of blizzard hell, which then would give us a reason as to why it refroze over.
And just
but
certain
they didn't even
things,
do that.
like, yeah, I don't know. And they should have, like, your Thoros idea with the fire. Like, if he knew that he was dying, like, if he did a ring of fire, I think it would be a great callback to the symbolism of the children of the forest.
Yeah.
They would be the center of the fire circle, and Thoros would use the remaining of his power to protect everyone, and then when he dies, the flame goes out, and that's why they come forward.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like there was a million ways to make it better than it was, rather than just relying on ice. And I think the fact that I'm Canadian pisses me off even more, because I know how frozen. I know my ice science. Like, I know how frozen ice can get in just a couple weeks in the middle of December.
Well, an ice cube takes like 45 minutes to form in my freezer.
I know, but it's like the fact that this lake that they were standing on has been north of the wall forever. It's always been frozen. And you're telling me it's going to break under 10 people and then wights are going to fall into it when they all come around, but then it's frozen 2 days later? A bunch of bullshit. Total suspension of disbelief was destroyed as soon as I saw that, to the point where I didn't even enjoy the action anymore because I knew it was rooted in bullshit. It's so annoying.
The undead army didn't do it for you?
No, but that's the whole thing I'm talking about, suspension of disbelief. Like, they've established that you can resurrect wights. Like, those are the rules of the game. And then they want me to believe that ice would break, and the fact that it would refreeze over good enough for them to walk over the ice again. Like, suspension
Well, see,
of
I think of it in a different way. If this guy's the king of the ice capades, he should have the ability to freeze that ice instantly, or know exactly when the ice is frozen and ready to walk across. Because it seems like the only reason they did know is when the Hound threw the rock, hit the guy.
Which
and
is
it was a pretty funny scene.
It was a funny scene, but it was so bullshit. Like, they found out
that's
because...
what I have a problem with.
They found out because of a rock. Like, what does that even mean? Like, it's so dumb.
I know. That was what was bad. I agree with that.
Oh my god. Yeah. Let's make a joke out of it, shall we? Like, god damn it.
And what was so annoying is, like, okay, now you're getting me to be annoyed. The Night's King was there the entire time.
He was just sitting there.
He could have fucking thrown as many ice spears as he could at these guys and be done with it.
Make him stay there for a reason. Make him hold his army for a reason. They could have totally... Oh, fuck.
Make him not there. And that's why they stopped. Because maybe it was Lieutenant's horde that didn't know what to do with these guys. And they didn't attack until the Night's King showed up. And he's like, what are you guys doing? Kill these motherfuckers. It was really weird that the most powerful bad guy ever sat idly by until the dragons came.
It was the dumbest thing
Unless
ever.
I'm not seeing something that I'm supposed to see in this scene. Like, he has it in just for the dragons, and he was waiting for them to show. It just seems weird.
They should have played it as, like, Bran's mistake and the Night King lured them in there to get a dragon. Or something like that. Like, he just stood around for no reason. I totally agree. It was so dumb. They could have had so many better reasons to have the Night King wanting to hold everyone off. Maybe Jon was a valuable person that he wanted to communicate with. Maybe he was waiting for the dragons. I don't know. But the reason, I don't know. There was no reason why he didn't do anything, because he could have.
Yeah, and like this horde seems so puny from the horde that we saw at the beginning. Like, give me a giant in here. Like, make them shit their pants. Yeah,
and it's like they've set them up to be crazy. And the fact that they're just standing there because of a 2-foot gap and they... Oh my god. And they realize that the ice is frozen when a frickin' rock trickles over the freshly broken ice. Hey, that's not how that works.
A giant would have actually served a really good purpose here, because a giant could have walked on the ice, broke it, like...
I know. It would have been great. But they didn't do that. And, like, they introduced the giants in the first episode and didn't even use them.
I know.
Like, what? How? And you can't tell me as a Canadian that the ice melted back, colder and harder than it was before.
Oh no, that's possible, but they didn't show that.
Oh my god.
They didn't show them suffering through blizzards and they had a little bit more snow on their hair.
And then, oh my god, and then the show is like, wow, that action got intense. Let's take a breather. We'll have them just sit there and stand there cold. We'll have Thoros die and burn his body, and then we'll watch Gentry run a marathon. God damn it. And then he falls right at the wall and says, Raven.
Oh, that's what's like straight from history. The guy that ran all the way back supposedly died as soon as he got back.
There's like so many better ways. Bran! Use fucking Bran. God damn it.
Oh, I'm surprised they didn't use Bran.
Have Bran warg into the dragon. He will fly right to Eastwatch. And that's why his purpose is there. He should have been north of the wall with them the whole way there.
I just don't know why they didn't just rip the scene of him using those ravens and put it into that scene.
Like, fuck, he should have did like an aerial strike with all the ravens. Just something to hold them off. Maybe he would... Fuck, man. He should have messed with the Night King in his head or something. He should have found a way maybe to break the ice himself. Like, Bran should have been used, and they shouldn't have relied on the stupid ice. I don't know.
Yeah, I liked your idea of this like this wizard internal battle between the Night's King and Bran, where it's actually Bran that stopped the army. It had nothing to do with ice. They just got surrounded and not wondering why these guys aren't attacking, while the Night's King is off on his own somewhere else battling Bran psychically for control over this horde of undead. And the lieutenants of the Night's King not understanding what's going on, so they didn't attack. There's a lot of shit. But then at the same time, we're just guessing. We don't know the Night's King's motives. We don't know Bran's ability at this point. We wish he was amazing like that, but I don't know what they're gonna use him for if they're not gonna use him.
Like that, this was the perfect opportunity to use him, and they blew it. Like they totally blew it, and like the writing suffered, and the whole thing was a mess. Like Jon's my favorite character, and like every like Hardhome, Battle of the Bastards, Battle at the Wall, like they all were great episodes, but this was shit. Like I was more like, this is what so blows my mind, is that they're standing there saying like we needed 7 episodes for budgetary reasons and for all this shit and time, but like I was more on the edge of my seat during the Battle for the Wall than I even was close to this episode.
Well, Battle for the Wall is an awesome episode, though.
It's an awesome episode. That was like a
full episode dedicated to the Battle of the Wall.
Yeah, but it's season 4, and like that's how the episode should be. Like it's a focus on what the big thing is of that season. But this one was all over the place, and I just, oh my god, I'm upset that I didn't like it.
I just think like the stakes weren't highlighted enough here.
Yeah, I wasn't on the edge of my seat.
Like that, not enough people died.
Yeah, I was just annoyed.
Like they just killed off basically Thoros and then every faceless dude that was up there.
Yeah, there was no stakes.
There was no stakes at all.
Yeah, and like
well, I guess you could count Benjen.
Yeah, but that was just so shoehorned in there. It didn't mean anything.
Well, I don't know what they were going for, but it was definitely ex machina for him to show up. But at the same time, they could have resolved this with Bran. So, like, we're saying this all now. What happens if in the next episode, it's like a viewpoint of everything that happened from above, and it's Bran was watching the whole time?
but it won't be. And if it is, that makes it even stupider.
Because they did do an overhead shot. You know my little theory between you and I about overhead shots.
Yeah, it's always Bran.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But then we get another scene while, because the ice is melted or broken, Jorah gets to talk to Jon, and then Jorah tells him that the ice will freeze soon. Or they will. And they talk about the wight and how when they destroyed the White Walker, the other wights fell. And Jon assumes that it's because that White Walker, that specific White Walker, was the one who turned the wights.
Yeah.
So Jon says that they shouldn't go and kill any more wights, or it kind of discourages from it because they still need the wight that they have. And they need that wight alive to prove to everybody. So Jon says that Dany's their only chance. But then Beric steps in, and I think this is an interesting scene, how he says, we have one more chance, and that's to kill the Night King.
Yeah.
And that's something that we said before. Like, I remember saying this a long time ago. Like, we've both always believed that he wargs into everything. And I think if you kill him, he can no longer warg, which means that everyone will drop. And I think that's a really good way to explain the classic trope of kill the guy on top and everybody else will fall. And I don't think that's cheesy at all. And they explain that in this episode kind of vaguely, but I like how Beric explained it. Like, we were both brought back talking to Jon. So he's saying, like, if we tried, we almost couldn't fail because we were back for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, hey, like, we could kill him, and like, I was brought back for a reason, so maybe we could actually do it, because we're not people that are just gonna die by a white horde because we were brought back for a reason. So I think that's like interesting logic, but they don't end up acting on it.
Yeah, like we're too big to fail.
Yeah. But then we get a snap. Sorry, do you have something to say?
No, I'm wondering why the fucking Night King was there and he did shit.
He did nothing. He just sat there and watched. So dumb. So dumb.
Like, the only thing I can pull from this, or this is really stretching, is that he still thinks something's up with Jon, but like he just sees where the chips lie with him, because it wasn't like his horde was attacking him, trying to kill him. He didn't try and stop them from doing that for Jon. But he was only interested in killing the dragons. Like he only even reacted when the dragons came.
Yeah.
So it seems so strange to me that the inaction of them just sitting for 2 days,
and
waiting to kill these guys.
Yeah, like it's
then doesn't do anything about it.
There was no, like, honestly, there was no penultimate episode that was less riveting than this one. Like, in the first season when Ned Stark died, it was more riveting than this. Blackwater was more riveting than this. Like, they slowed it down just to serve the plot of Daenerys arriving on the dragon. Like, just fucking fix it. Cut out the middleman, remove Gentry. Here's a quick fix. Cut out Gentry, have Bran warg into her, like, pretty much right when they arrive at Eastwatch. That way she can swoop in before they wait for a couple days. Like, they ruined the action, and they made it so slow. And then, you know, while we're at this tense scene where they're surrounded by wights, we get a scene with Dany at Dragonstone and everything's fine. Like, it takes you out of the moment. And
yeah, because I don't feel like they suffered those 2 days. They were just literally waiting to see if Gendry panned out.
Yeah, and like you lost the feel of what it's like to survive. Like with Hardhome, it was like, fuck, like we have to move now because it's survival. Like this is dangerous. I don't feel like wights are dangerous because they stood around and watched them for 2 days because 2 feet of water was keeping them from getting to them.
Yeah.
So it's just it made me think that they're not as powerful. Like they were supposed to be this force, and them waiting for that long just ruined it for me.
Well, water seems to be important though, if we're factoring in Hardhome as well.
I know, but Hardhome did it right. Like it was a lake. Like this didn't make any sense to me. Like this was a cheap way to try and capture that.
No, I agree. Especially just discussing with you, there's so many things they could have done.
And then,
instead.
like, yeah, man. And then you take us out of Eastwatch and bring us back to Daenerys. And it's like, honestly, like, we see Tyrion telling her that he doesn't want her to go. And if she dies, everything is lost. But Daenerys makes it clear that she listened to him to do nothing before, and she doesn't want to do nothing again. So she leaves, and she brings her other 2 dragons, and she travels all the way to Eastwatch to save them in the nick of time. And it's like, again, it just takes me out. Like Battle of the Bastards, you were in it. It's set up from the start of the episode. We saw all these interactions building up to the Battle of the Bastards. We saw Jon treaty with Ramsay Bolton. We saw all these character moments that would set up the Battle of the Bastards. We got the whole fight. But this is just cutting in between the action and in between the set piece. It just makes it so incoherent and just non-enjoyable. I don't know. But then we got another scene that I appreciated, but it pissed me off too, is when when the Hound starts throwing rocks. Like, I loved it when he hit one of them, and he's like, dumb cunt. And I loved it. I thought that was hilarious. And it was really funny because that one wight that he smoked in the jaw, that one ended up being really annoying. Like, that one single wight, the Hound ended up hitting him to the ground. He came back with a hole in his head and attacked the Hound again. He ended up hitting him in the water. That same wight came back out of the water and tried to drag Tormund underwater.
Yeah, he was like an alpha.
He's like a giant pain. Yeah, he's just a giant pain in the ass. But then, like, this is so dumb. Like, we've talked about this. He throws the rock and it skips across the water. Like, first of all, the Hound, bro, why are you playing right now? You're surrounded by a bunch of dead people. Secondly, why would a rock skipping across the ice lead them to move in? I thought it was so poorly handled.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing, because it goes against the logic for me. Like, yeah, the lake's gonna freeze over in like half an hour for it to support a rock. Yeah. The whole horde is why they didn't go charging in the first place. It
is so dumb. Like that rock would have skipped just the same initially. But now it's expected to be harder because of a stupid rock. The whole thing was so dumb. How are we supposed to believe that and enjoy it?
Yeah, I really wish it was Thoros' firewall. That would have been fucking awesome. And it would have been so much more dramatic when he finally died. Because they would have been like,
fuck.
oh no.
Or Bran creating a barrier of some sorts.
Something.
Or anything. Like, honest to God.
Man,
anything.
like I'm scared that they're not going to use Bran in that way because they didn't use him here.
They could have used Bran for so much to explain this, and they just blew it.
But does he have that kind of power? Does he have that kind of influencing power as of yet?
I don't even know.
Or will he ever? And that's what's worrying me, because if they wanted to showcase it, it seems like this would have been the perfect episode. Everyone was expecting something big to happen, and not really anything big happened here other than the dragon dying.
Yeah, so then, like, the action shots were cool. Like, we were getting really cool shots of them defending the rock, and they're trying to move up the rock with the wight. But then, like, wights come out of the water, which is, like, I thought we established that they don't want to go in water, but yet they're fine navigating this terrain, which is very annoying. They just did that for the sake of a surprise action shot.
Mm-hmm.
And Jon's, like, protecting the wight. Everyone keeps dragging the wight. And then this guy ends up falling into the pit of wights, and Drogon shows up in the nick of time. And
yeah.
She managed to find them.
She managed to find them.
And the Raven, and Gendry was able to run the marathon. And the Raven was able... Fuck, and the Raven was able to get to Daenerys. And Daenerys was able to get there in the nick of time. Like, god damn it, Bran. Just
and know exactly where they are.
It's so dumb. Like, Bran, just warg into the dragon. And take the dragons. That literally solves that one problem. Bran, warg into the dragon while they are in Eastwatch, because Bran senses or knows where the Night King is, and he knows that they're going to face a problem, and he knows that they need Daenerys. And then he can warg them to the right place, because Bran would know where they are.
Exactly.
Like, we just solved that in 30 seconds of thinking.
Yeah, but that's what's worrying me, that they didn't. I'm worried that Bran's not going to be the Grand Wizard like I'm thinking he's going to be.
The stupidity to me is unreal. I just can't believe some of these writing things that they did. And then while Daenerys is fighting the dragons, like, the Night King pulls out this weapon that we've never seen before. It's a freaking White Walker javelin. And we literally...
No, that's their go-to weapon. They usually use it as swords, but it's dual purpose.
You even see him, like, aim like a pro javelin thrower, and he throws it and pegs him. And it's like I just...
rips up the dragon. That's pretty cool.
I just feel like they could... Like, I hate to bitch about it, but they could have done it better. They could have done it cooler. They could have meant it mean something if they actually showed us all three of the dragons earlier in the season. They only showed us Drogon.
Yeah.
God damn it. Like, why was Jon petting Drogon? So annoying.
Well, see, I don't care about the relationship dragons there. I knew it was going to be a secondary dragon that would die here. You have me on record saying that, and I thought Drogon was going to get hit, which he did, but I thought he was going to get a lot more injured than he did.
Yeah. Jeez, I don't know. And it seemed like when he got hit... It was the same kind of a spear as the one that stabbed Drogon. So my only explanation is that naturally, ice is a really significant, strong weapon to dragons, because you see like fire coming out of his chest. Like, it's like the ice really damaged him.
Oh, it was like I'd have to watch it again, but I'm pretty sure it went in and then out, like entry wound, exit wound, yeah, and that's why it was like went through its lung and then exploded the fire through the hole.
Yeah, and I can believe that. That's what I can believe. That to me makes total sense. That an ice spear would totally puncture through that because it's ice.
Well, they explain that the White Walkers can make ice weapons stronger than steel.
Yeah, true. Exactly. And that's the opposite of that is fire, and that's dragon. So it seems like they're natural combat. It's like a natural weapon to use against them.
Yeah, like paper, rock, scissors kind of thing.
Yeah, and another thing about this whole dragon thing, everyone's saying, "Oh no, Viserion died." No, it was Rhaegal. I swear to God, Rhaegal was the one who died. I think people are just delusional.
Again, for me, this doesn't matter, but I hope you're right.
I swear to God, because the dragon's eyes are the color of their skin. Drogon has red eyes, Viserion has gold eyes, and Rhaegal has green eyes. And it was clear as fucking day that he had green eyes. And he was a green dragon. Like, it was Rhaegal. And then I go on Twitter and I see everybody saying, "Oh no, R.E.P. Viserion." You guys are delusional. It was Rhaegal. I don't think anyone wants to believe that Jon's dragon is dead, but it is.
You know what would be so funny? Is if the leaked version from earlier this week that everybody seemed to jump on and watch ended up being that they colored the eyes to make it seem like everybody else, like, you know how they do that in games?
Yeah.
Like they'll change this little thing so everyone that ousts them or complains about it ousts themselves of being like a pirate.
Yeah.
That'd be really funny.
That'd be pretty good. But oh goddamn. And that, like, Rhaegal now being the one dead raises a lot of different implications. Like, everyone's like, Jon is gonna ride the dragon of his father. That makes a lot of sense. Jon riding Viserion wouldn't have the same story. It wouldn't have the same feel to it. Like, it literally feels like Rhaegal was a dragon crafted for Jon. That's why it would interest me. What if Jon ends up riding an ice dragon, a white dragon? Which I don't know how that would even make sense, but I think that's an interesting possibility. I wouldn't run anything past the show now.
Yeah, since Ghost is out of the picture, come on.
Nothing. Like, wow, Ghost could have been beyond the wall. He could have been a good help. I don't know.
Something. I can't believe they haven't even shown him all season. We haven't seen him once.
This season
he doesn't seem important at all. All the things that I think are important are showing to be in the last few episodes not important.
It's very frustrating. And even, like, the Night King's ability is not important, because all he does is sit there and stare. He was sitting there staring at Jon, readying another spear to throw it at Drogon. And Jon has this badass moment, which I don't understand, because we were analyzing this thing like crazy, saying that there are all these wights standing by watching Jon. And he just kills one, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nope. For some reason, they established these wights to attack like crazy, but for some reason they're all standing around, and Jon's able to easily peg one or another off, and it's not dangerous at all. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of them were just standing by. Like, why?
I don't know.
Why?
I feel like we're in this is a hate cast. We can call this the hate cast.
It is, but it's like, why are they standing around? Like, they're going against all of the rules that they've established, and it pisses me off. And Jon falls in the water. Like, why would, like, it's just, I feel like everything's gonna piss me off about this episode now. Because, like, if you're in the water like that, he should have died.
Yeah.
I'm just very annoyed. Like, I feel like they
he got the rousing speech from Dondarrion. That he has to keep on fighting no matter what. I can resolve that in my mind. Obviously, Jon's gonna make it to pretty far on if he doesn't die at all. So yeah. We're gonna see, like, but it's gonna get tiresome if they keep doing these. Jon's gonna almost die in this episode. They gotta get away from that.
I just don't. The whole thing, like, okay, just, and then Daenerys finally escapes. They just miss a spear. They get out. The Night King leaves. So they leave, even though they're going to come back and resurrect the dragon. That makes a shit ton of sense. Oh, I get it. They have to leave because they have to give Jon some time to get out of the water without being fought against. And to also give Jon some time so Benjen can swoop in last minute and save him. Just like Daenerys did about 10 minutes ago. Fuck, man. So,
it didn't seem like they left for that long, though, because he got out, stumbled, and then they were on to his trail.
Why would they leave if they have to resurrect the dragon anyway? And then Benjen comes in, swings his fiery thing, and saves Jon and sends him away on his horse. That was not, like, just the way it was shot and the way it was written, like, to me, I wasn't on the edge of my seat. I was like, fuck is Benjen? And he just swooped in. Like, why don't you have Benjen greet them at Eastwatch? Why don't you have Benjen escort them to the Arrowhead?
Yes, you can establish the reunion.
Build the reunion. Build the emotional tension between the characters. And then have Benjen save Jon. And that would mean something. Rather than him just swooping in, throwing him on a horse, being like, peace out, Jon. I have no time to explain. And then we watch him die. Like, what does that mean? That didn't mean anything to me. It was insignificant. It was just thrown in there. It makes no sense.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, the character death of the episode, Thoros, to me, he's awesome, and I'm sad to see him go, but it wasn't, like, heartbreaking by any stretch of the imagination.
No, yeah, and like,
so that's why, like, Benjen was obviously more heartbreaking, but it was jarring. She showed up ex machina with no reference as to why he's there, other than he did the same thing for Bran.
Oh my god!
And then that was it. Like, he literally sacrificed himself. It was like he had two lines of dialogue.
Literally, my mind is blown at every turn how they fucked up. Like, why did they not have Benjen at the beginning of the episode? And, like, if they're, like, or just cut Benjen out entirely, how much better would it be if Jon sent Daenerys to go, and she left, and then Jon was left in the cold and the White Walkers were coming for him, and he summoned the other dragon, whether it was Rhaegal or Viserion.
Yeah.
And and that one would save him, and Jon would ride him, and that would be the first time Jon would ride a dragon. It's like they literally decided to go anticlimactic at every single turn. Bothers me.
Now you're getting me fired up about it.
Do you agree with me? I feel like we literally could have wrote it better in 20 minutes.
There was a ball dropping, but at the same time, we don't know the whole story. So I want to say that.
But the whole
it
point
will
of this
be explained, but by the sense of it, I don't think we're gonna get explanation.
But the whole point about this though is I don't complain about plot points that you can explain. This was inexplainable. It led nowhere. It was just an action set piece. There's nothing to explain here because everything was paint by the numbers. The most straightforward approach of what you could do. There's nothing to explain in my opinion. They just played it off the way they played it off. There's nothing to analyze. They just played it off the way they played it off. So that's why I'm angry. They could have done it so many different ways that would have been way better.
Well, that's what I'm trying to think. Benjen isn't in the books. He's called something else, right? Cold Hands. Is Cold Hands living at the last book?
I don't know.
So that's what I mean. How is he going to die? So this could be how he dies, and this is their interpret of George's vision. I don't know.
But they just
it sucks. It really sucks that they wasted him like that.
They shoehorn him in to die.
He's
for
the
no
dopest Ghost Rider style fighter. And he would have
man.
been a really cool asset at the end of this whole thing.
It makes me angry because I think the producers of the show, their logic was oh yeah, we'll just throw Benjen in there because then we'll get 2 deaths and that is significant. But they didn't play it off significant. They didn't play it off emotional. It's just so annoying.
His death was very jarring because it's fuck.
It's okay, here's this guy on this horse. He came out of nowhere. So annoying. And then, let's just move on. We get to the wall. The Hound ends up taking the role of taking the wight, and he leaves for King's Landing, and he ends up nodding to Tormund and Beric. Beric says that they'll meet again, which we're gonna take that. We're gonna see them. Which means that we're definitely gonna see them together next season.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Daenerys and Jorah says, they have to go, but she wants to wait a bit longer. And lo and behold, she waited just long enough because Jon arrives on the horse. So Daenerys ends up watching as Davos and others are tending to Jon. She sees his stab wounds, which confirms the whole why he got stabbed by his people thing. Yeah. And it's I feel like they focused on that one plot point so much, but they could have focused in on so much more. I get it, but God, after all of these plot shits happening north of the wall for them to focus on Jon's stab wounds.
But there's no way that they're trying to get the audience to make a leap in now thinking that Daenerys understands that he was killed and brought back just from the camera shot of her looking at. For us, we saw everything that happens. That's where my belief is suspended. He's a warrior. Of course he's going to have scars on his chest. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. If it's not talked about and she just believes oh yeah, he must have been brought back based on that scar on his chest. Yeah. It's a little weird. It has to go addressed. It has to.
I don't know. We'll see. But
because she does have experience with the resurrection stuff.
Yeah, and they've been addressing it over and over again. I feel like they're definitely gonna play it off. And then Jon wakes up and he has a scene with Daenerys, and even this, I don't know what's wrong with me. Even this scene I didn't love. He wakes up, he says he's sorry. They hold hands, which I think, hey, I have no problem with. I think that was cool to really build their relationship. But she's naturally upset because one of their dragons died, and they're her children. She doesn't confirm which one it was. But she does promise to destroy the Night King. But then Jon also, he says thank you, but then says that he'll swear the knee. Or bend the knee. So it's but the whole story was him not bending the knee, and God damn it, it's just annoying.
I was mulling this over as we're recording this. I feel like this is the whole thing. She didn't want that of him anymore because of what's at stake, and he doesn't care about that shit anymore because of what's at stake. And this goes back to what the system is going to be as her legacy. Like, that shit is bullshit when really what is truly matters. And that's how I at least resolve that in my head to make it less corny, that he just does bend the knee in this case. I don't care whether he bends the knee because that's his character. Like, he doesn't care either way. But he was strongly opposed, and now he's not. To me, it's just like, no, like, we don't care about that shit right now because we know there's something crazy way beyond this political battle that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
Like, all this politics and kings and lands doesn't really matter if no one's around to rule. So she doesn't care if he'll bend the knee or not. He said it because he doesn't care about being king anymore, because really what the threat is now, and it's just been kind of double proven to not only Jon but now to Daenerys, that the Night's King is the major threat.
Yeah.
I just for me, it's the Night's King is the biggest like hole in my head right now. Like, now he's got a dragon. Is this dragon an ice dragon because it was in ice? It doesn't seem like it. Every other thing does what it did before.
Yeah.
It died. So does he have a fire-breathing ice dragon? And that's his ticket over the wall, right?
Yeah.
So are we not going to see the wall fall down? Because it really seemed like they were hamming it up when Jon asks Dolores Ed, don't let it fall down.
Yeah, I think it will fall down.
And it seems like it would fall at the Castle Black. So it seems very jarring to me that the Night's King was planning an attack on I keep wanting to call it Eastwatch. Is it Eastwatch or Eastgate?
Eastwatch.
Eastwatch. Yeah, Eastwatch by the Bay, right? So we also saw that ocean's not frozen for them to come around. So maybe that's confirmation for them now that they have to go back, but they also now have an ace in the hole in the form of a dragon. Or can this dragon blow ice and then freeze whatever they need to freeze in order to walk around?
I think they might just... No, I don't think they'll do that. I think they're just going to play it to destroy the wall. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Nothing would surprise me with this show now.
Well, that's what I mean.
Like, they seem to magically go...
Is he going to attack Castle Black with a fire-breathing dragon and melt the fucking wall?
Maybe. It would surprise me.
Fire-breathing ice dragon?
I just feel like I don't even want to predict anymore because I know they're going to pick a stupider way to do it. God damn.
I don't know. Are we seeing that this next episode? Are we seeing the wall finally come down and leaving this open? I was saying that this was going to happen in the last episode of last season.
Yeah, I think we're going to see it.
They
seems
just
natural.
Seem less threatening now, other than they have the dragon.
We'll see the dragon in action, but I just want to move on and talk quickly about Winterfell. The first scene I liked when Arya was talking about Ned, and talking about her shooting arrows, and she finally hit the bullseye, and Ned was clapping because he supported her, and it told her that the rules were wrong. She wasn't wrong for being who she was. And she's pretty much mad at Sansa because she feels like she was a coward and she betrayed their family. And because of the letter to Robb for him to bend the knee. And Arya claims that she would have never done that at her age because Sansa's excuse is that she was a child. And Arya does not buy it. Like, she would have been killed or tortured before ever betraying her family. And I think that really pisses Arya off, which is well-founded. I actually totally understand Arya's point of view here. Because then she points at the Lords of Westeros saying... Sorry. And then she points at the... Wait, what was I going to say?
That's Lady Mormont.
Oh, yeah. And then she points at the bannermen, such as Lady Mormont, that, like, what would she think? Because she's younger than you were when you wrote this letter. So I think Arya is saying it doesn't matter how young you were, it still speaks to your character.
Yeah.
And that could be incriminating against you. And Sansa tries to defend herself, saying, like, well, you were doing your shit. I was here winning, getting us back, Winterfell. You should be thanking me. And I thought overall this scene was good. I enjoyed the scene.
Yeah.
But I think later it got kind of ridiculous. Da, 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 da. So Sansa ends up talking to Littlefinger, which shocks me because I think they made it pretty clear throughout the season that Sansa does not want Littlefinger's counsel. She shut him down many times, but now is open to listen to him now all of the sudden.
Well, I think she's desperate, and that's what they're trying to, like, play up. It's like, holy shit, like, my sister's here. She's calling me out.
It's like the one time she trusts Littlefinger is the time when he totally betrayed her. So Littlefinger claims that he doesn't know how. But she doesn't
know that, though.
I know.
She's looking for confirmation bias that she's right. So who is she going to go to? Nobody in the north would abide by her. She could really only confide in Littlefinger, and obviously that's a part of his master plan.
Yeah. So she's naturally worried about the Bannermen's support because they've been flip-flopping. Now they support. Some of them are questioning supporting Sansa now over Jon, and she says that they are not loyal at all. That's why she's so nervous about Arya maybe giving away this letter.
Exactly. Because that's what so this leads into the next scene, because I think that's what Arya was saying, both like, if you fuck this up, I'm quite capable of killing you. But at the same time she's saying, like, don't underestimate me because you think I'm a little girl. I'm much more than that. I've been through enough, and I'm willing to die for my family.
Yeah. And
that's why she was so intense, like, without saying it. But a part of me also thinks, like, I don't want to say she's got like a double Littlefinger going on, where she sort of knows now too that Littlefinger's pulling strings. So it's this back and forth of they know each other's up to something, where she's trying to be intense like that, so it looks to Littlefinger like his plan's working. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's a bit of a stretch, I think. I think she's legitimately mad at her.
I think they're just going to play it straight. But, like, in this scene with Littlefinger and Sansa, I liked how Littlefinger was acting. Like, he was saying things to Sansa that, if you interpret it properly, you know he's lying. Like, Littlefinger, he's saying very specific things to push Sansa in a certain direction. Littlefinger said that Arya would never betray her family. He tells this to Sansa. And I think he's gambling on her potentially doing it. And, but then, by him saying that he doesn't think that Arya would betray her family, or betray Sansa, Sansa gives him vital information without realizing it. She says that she would betray her. Wait. She would betray her if she thought that she was going to betray Jon.
Exactly.
So now Littlefinger...
She's capable of stepping up.
So now Littlefinger knows just by that Sansa feels threatened by Arya if she threatened Jon's position.
Yes.
And Littlefinger made a suggestion. He asks if Brienne can help because she's sworn to protect both of them. And she could intercede and protect both of them and make sure no shit happens, right?
So I only watched the one, so I wanted to know, like, you got to fill me in on this. So I don't know what she was trying to get out of this.
But what I find, like, with Littlefinger, I find this interesting because I feel like he's mentioning use Brienne to protect both of you, to ensure that nothing happens. Even though he's suggesting that, he's hoping for the opposite. And I think Sansa takes this information and she sends Brienne away, which I think speaks a lot to the story going forward. It speaks to her motives.
But what I don't understand is what would Brienne do in a domestic feud between sisters?
No idea.
She couldn't take sides. She could only just kind of like break them up. And judging by Arya's skills, if she was really mad and wanted to kill Brienne, at this point it would be a good fight. So that's what I don't understand. Like, it just seemed weird. Like, Brienne's not this referee of them.
I know.
I think Arya doesn't like her so much, but respects her.
I don't know. That's the thing. There's certain aspects of this that I can't explain.
This flew over my head. I didn't understand what that angle was, because then in the next scene she's sending her away.
But that's a testament to the writing, because I honestly can't explain to you why. And I feel like the reason Sansa sent Brienne to King's Landing was a lot more than just representing her, and because Sansa can't leave King's Landing. It might be because she thinks that Brienne would be that referee and she doesn't want her there to protect Arya or herself. I don't know.
Yeah, but they didn't do a good job of conveying that, or I totally missed something. Because I was like, still like, Well, what the fuck's Brienne gonna do about it? She's like a knight. She doesn't care about like family feuds.
Yeah.
She wouldn't let them hurt each other by like breaking it up, but she couldn't do much if one wanted to kill the other, because it wouldn't be like a fight. It would be like a ninja assassination.
Fuck. I don't know, man. And then the next scene got ridiculous for me. It pulled me out of the show. Like, I've been pulled out of this show multiple times this episode. Like, we were beyond the wall, experiencing this action and shit, and then they snapped to Sansa and Arya in Winterfell. It felt so out of place, so jarring, and it didn't align with the overall narrative of the episode. And
so she went in looking for the scroll. Flipping through
Yes.
stuff, found these faces of what looked like what's his name?
Yeah.
I was gonna say Filch.
Oh, did it? I wasn't paying attention to
I
that.
thought so. I don't know. Maybe it could just be any faces, but I thought it was Filch. What's his name in the show?
Walder Frey.
Yeah, Walder Frey. So she finds these faces and like isn't disgusted by them. It's not like they have Halloween masks.
This scene to me was stupid because, bottom line, they're sisters and they were treating each other like they were just strangers. Like, Sansa was genuinely worried for her life. Like, she's just been like in a conflict with Joffrey. Like, she's like, I have hundreds loyal to me, blah 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 blah. And like, it was so over the top and it was so unexpected, and it didn't set up this scene at all. Like, the anger that we got set up scenes before this did not set up the anger that we got in this scene. Like, it was so disconnected, and it didn't make any sense.
I think that I said this earlier, and it's almost like we missed one more argument between them.
Yeah.
Like, on the Blu-ray for this episode, there'll be like an extra scene of them getting in each other's way. And that's why Sansa goes running, and it causes this much more anger. Yeah. It really did seem like there wasn't a ramp up to this intensity.
There wasn't, and then the scene ends with what the fuck just happened, because Arya walks up to Sansa and says that I can wear your face, I can become you, I can wear your skin. I've always wondered what it would be like to be Sansa. I'd always wondered what it'd be like to be you. And then she flips the knife, gives her cat's paw, and leaves. What the fuck does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, the scene ends, and I don't know what it established. It just came out of nowhere. It ruined the flow of the action and the story up north, and I'm left being like, what the fuck does this even mean? So I was very confused.
You just reminded me of her flipping that specific dagger. It's kind of giving me a different theory.
What's that?
That maybe it is an act.
Yeah.
And that's why she sent Brienne away. To make, like, I don't know. It would be really hard to pull off, but maybe she's trying to say, like, Littlefinger is behind all of this and I found it out. But play along. And she's trying to hint to her without saying it out loud, because there's ears everywhere in Winterfell right now with Littlefinger's money behind them, that it's this dude. He's fucking pulling us. He's putting us against each other.
I don't know. They fucking.
And that's why she like hands her the knife that way.
Yeah, but right now
I hope that's what it is.
I hope so too. And like right now, I can't even predict. Like, I feel like I'm clouded with anger. Like, I can't accurately predict what's gonna happen because I don't know what's happening right now. Like, to me, Winterfell seems like a mess. Like, I don't know what's going on, and I hate how this plot point is reliant on a note that happened years and years ago. Like, I think it's so weak.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer too, because I love this show so much, but like, I don't get how they could fuck up so bad in 2 episodes. Like, it literally made me question the whole show in the last 2 episodes.
Again, I'm lukewarm on this episode, but my opinions of it might change depending on what they fill in the holes with on the next episode. Because that really got my mind going, what you just said about the dagger. Because I'm wondering now if there's now incomplete information with regards to Arya finding out more about Littlefinger, and this is Littlefinger's last play. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not sure. I really got nothing else to say. Actually, in the last scene, we get actually really quick. And then, do you have anything else to say about Winterfell?
No, that's it. You got me. You got my mind storming now, though.
I'm very confused. But moving on, we finish off the scene with White Walkers, or White, sorry, dragging one of the dragons up above the ice.
Jerry's still out.
And it resurrects it. And, yeah, it was cool. I just feel like they could have done it better. I don't know why I'm so frustrated. I think a white dragon was a genius idea. I just think the show handled it so shittily. But I swear to God, it's Rhaegal. Everyone's saying it's Viserion. There's no frickin' way. All the dragons have the colors of their eyes are the colors of their skin. Even in the previous seasons, like you can see it. Drogon's red eyes, Viserion's orange eyes, Rhaegal's green eyes, and wow, it's Rhaegal. And if they backtrack, the leaks have said that it's Viserion, and if it's Viserion, I'm gonna fucking lose it because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And now that it's Rhaegal, that raises a lot of questions going forward that I don't like, because I don't know. I'm worried that the last 6, think about it. Like, we got 7 episodes this season. Think about how rushed the last 2 are. Imagine how the last 6 are going to be for the season, the next season.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane. And, I'm worried. I'm really worried.
Crazy.
But that's all I got to say about this episode.
Yeah, that's it for me, too.
All right. Until next time.
Hopefully that's not a bad episode.
I hate feeling this way. I'm genuinely upset talking about Game of Thrones right now.
You're upset because you're upset.
I'm upset talking about Game of Thrones. Anyways, see you guys later.
See you guys.